See it here, folks. This is the first playtest of a mission pack for Battletech called Hasty Escalation. I'm still on my Wobby kick, trying to test out 5,000 point lists for an upcoming tourney, while my opponent, Fatbird, is also bringing a 5,000 point list of his own. He went for some Goss Ullers and that Ryokan E that is such a nasty customer. The gist of Hasty Escalation is that you randomly determine a couple of your mechs, half of your total list force, and those units have to set up in the middle of the board. In my case, it was the Light Ray and the Legacy, while on his side he got the Ryokan and the Uller to set up in the middle of the board, relatively close to each other, while everything else has to walk on the board. For him, it is a Uller Gauss Rifle version, and for me, it is the Malak. Moving in at 7-11, we both opted, there's ways to game the mechanics just a little, to get the fast units to be the fast responders. But it's not guaranteed in that scenario, because you could just as easily end up with having all the fast movers on the center of the board and have the slow moving assault mechs way out of position. He loses initiative though and tries to swing to the right side of the board, try to single out the Light Ray. Meanwhile, the Legacy didn't move. It was in a good bead, fires through a narrow opening and manages to tag the Uller 3 times with its Ultra AC thanks to that wonderful, wonderful C3I. So in response, he sends up the Uller Gauss Rifle over on the left side towards the Legacy, and I'm actually pretty terrified about that for a second. I mean, it is a light mech, he's going to single out the assault, and then, yeah, it's a light mech singling out an assault. Yeah, it's got a Gauss Rifle, but what are you going to do, tickle me to death? So I go ahead and let the Legacy sit still. It's a fire support platform, it's got a good shot down range, and it kind of forces the hand of my opponent. He lets his Uller, who has recently got Savage, stay on the ground so that he can take a shot at the Malak, which I ended up not moving. Well, I moved before, but it was still on his front arc. And he swings the Ryokan into his rear arc. I let the Light Ray go ahead and, pummel it to death, kick it to death, because it's right there. We just need to finish it off. It's got holes all in its armor thanks to the Legacy. And it's not going to take much to actually put down. But thanks to booming onto the board at the speed of sound, the Malak manages to get missed by nearly everything from the Ryokan. It gets tagged just a little bit by a laser, if I recall correctly, into one of the legs, but it otherwise is completely fine. On the other hand, the Light Ray kicks the mess out of the mech in front of it. He fires all kinds of weapons into it, savages it completely, and forcibly creates a bunch of new sunroofs that the pilot did not want, destroying the mech outright. Light Ray Alpha Strikes for the second turn in a row, manages to generate a bit of a heat problem in the process, while the Malak manages to put some damage on the Ryokan. The Legacy manages to get a shot off on the Uller that is assaulting him from the side, putting a round into the arm with the Gauss Rifle. Turn 3 has come around and the whole forces have been engaged. The Hasty Escalation is now escalated, and I go ahead in my early initiative step, even though that he lost the initiatives, that I consider my options, and then I realize I need to send the Legacy over at the Uller to take care of him by himself, and it leaves an opportunity. This is the gambit. I expose my back to him, so it opens up the Ryokan's opportunity. He takes it, he takes a look at it, and he says, man, I can't miss this. And he runs the Ryokan through the center to get some back shots on the assault mech. It's an opportunity he's not going to get at any other point. And I go ahead and take advantage of that. I exposed him just for the sake of moving the Malak and the Light Ray right into the rear arc of the Ryokan. Now this is a turn of calculated risks. You can either win or lose the game. I had actually counted out the amount of hexes away from the Ryokan to see just what his hit mod was, and even if he fired all HEs, it was pretty unlikely that he was going to be able to hit or puncture the back of the Legacy, so it was a pretty good calculated risk. On the other hand, everything would be really close range between the Malak and the Light Ray, so it's a pretty good bet that the the mechs that I have over there, the medium and the light, will be able to take on the clan medium. Knowing when to overheat is one of those risks in Battletech that is the hallmark of an experienced player, and in this case, The Light Ray is in turn 3 of Alpha Striking. He hits him with the PPC despite the mods, hits him in the head, takes a crit out, and manages to take out his sensors and life support, and between the Malak and the Light Ray do enough damage to cause a PSR. He falls over, fails his seatbelt check, then fails his consciousness check on a 2, rendering him unconscious in front of 2 mechs eager to kill him, while the Legacy on the other side manages to double tap the Uller again, this time taking out the arm with the Gauss rifle, leaving him with just 2 medium lasers. My buddy still thinks he can win it, so I go ahead and back up the Light Ray while trying to get just a little bit more room, a little bit more time, or at least keep him out of the back arc of the assault mech, because that's the only way he's going to kill him. And so long as I close the distance between him and his supporting elements, he should not have a problem. I will just park another mech in his rear arc if I have to. It's around this time that he notices that there's no Gauss rifle on the Uller, and there's actually nothing he can do. We go into the fire phase, and with the unconscious mech in front of it, I absolutely rip the Ryokan to pieces, and even the Legacy manages to hit him 3 times with his Ultra AC and completely destroys the Uller. And that's been an Ouchies Batrep, and that's C3 for you.